Hey everyone, welcome to episode 12 of the Darksliders podcast with Doug and Brad.
Hi.
We got a lot of good stuff on this episode, lots of good games to play, and I'm really
hmm
excited about the first one. This weekend was the first kind of public experience with Splatoon and the global test fire event. And I got a chance to play this for 2 of the 3 limited hours that came out, and I am so excited about this. I even figured out how to work our Twitter because I was so excited about this.
That's so weird. This game is like not on my radar at all. So when you were saying, "Oh my god, this game's amazing," it's like, okay, sure, but you just kept saying, "Oh, dude, this game's amazing. This game's amazing." Oh, okay, what? Why is this game so cool? It just kind of looks like we talked last time. It just seemed like an arena shooter. What makes Splatoon not just an arena shooter?
Yeah, so I kind of had that same thing even coming into this. Like, it was we're on the East Coast time, so it was 11 to 12 o'clock at night was the first one. I was like, oh man, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to stay up all that way because I'm old and 11 o'clock is late now. But anyway, so I was kind of like, oh, well, I'll give it a shot. I'm curious about it. I don't really care too much, but I got into it, and as soon as I started playing this, it was just one of those things that just hits you like, wait a minute, what is this? This is not, this is so much better than it should be. That was kind of the thought I had with it, is there's no way this game where you are just some random thing shooting paint and turning into a squid should be this cool. But the game is just, it's super, super fun at all times. And I think, and maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more, but part of the reason why I think this game works so well is you are constantly doing something. There is never a moment from the time that it hits start to the time that the 3 minutes runs out. There is never a moment you're not doing something.
What do you mean?
So, okay, so you start a match of Call of Duty, Halo, whatever. The first thing you do is you go and you run and you try and either go pick up a weapon, or you go and try and find a spot to sit, or you go and try and figure out where everybody else went. However you play those games, or you do what I do, which is go and go, okay, everybody always goes to the middle, so I'm just going to run to the middle and hope I can shoot more people than everybody else. But
Yeah,
this
yeah.
game, as soon as it almost works in phases, which is kind of cool. So you start the game, and as soon as the game starts, you just pull the trigger and start shooting because you're just trying to cover everything in paint. So as soon as the game starts, you're already shooting stuff. I'm already trying to cover the walkway right out of the spawn point in paint.
Oh,
And
okay.
then you just, basically what happens is each side ends up kind of covering their point, and then you end up meeting in the middle point, and at that point, like a minute into the game shifts from this, I have to cover everything to, okay, what do they have covered? Where are they at? How do I cover what they've already covered? And then it gets actually into the more competitive phase.
So what's the point of like shooting people then? If it because the object is not to kill people, it's to paint, right?
Yeah, it's a percentage. So the game ends and you get a percentage. So, for example, it'll say 40%, and it always says good guys, bad guys on your screen. It's not like a team, it's just good guys, bad guys.
Are you
Which I
always
thought
the
was
good
kind of cool.
guys?
Yeah, you're always the good guys.
Okay.
Which I thought was kind of clever. But it'll
Yeah.
say like 40% blue, 30% orange, and that would mean that there's, whatever leftover percent wasn't covered.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of the point of this. And this was one of the, I don't remember how many game modes they're going to have in the final game, but this is one of the games called Turf War. So the point of killing, there's not a huge point to it. I mean, it keeps track of kills and deaths. First of all, when you kill somebody, obviously they go back to their spawn point, which in general is normally already covered in their color. So it's
Yeah.
almost like it's more of like a time loss thing.
Oh,
It's
gotcha.
like a 3-second respawn, but they're out of that area that they're trying to paint. They have to go back and run through or turn into the squid and swim through all the paint that they've already covered, so you lose that little bit of time.
Oh, so anytime you kill a guy, it's just time for them not painting.
Exactly. That's kind of
Okay.
the idea. But if you kill a guy, it also does like a little like bomb explosion of paint. It doesn't do a whole lot, but like if they die, so if I was on the blue team and I killed an orange guy, there'd be a little bit explosion of blue paint that would cover. So there is some
Oh,
benefit
gotcha.
to it, but I mean honestly, you probably could cover more area just shooting paint at the wall or whatever than
Yeah.
trying to kill someone. But it does have some effect to it, just because again, if you kill everybody and everybody's back there, I had one game where we wiped out almost the entire other team. They all ended up back at their spawn point. We were able to cover just a huge chunk of the map in paint while they were trying to get back to us.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So yeah, it doesn't seem like that deep of a game, but it is incredibly deep, and the whole thing is really well balanced. Like right, I think it was like 11:15 the first night. There was a lot of people who were just like paint roller, paint roller, paint roller, paint roller, paint roller,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is one of the weapons, which basically is like a wall roller of paint that you just put on the ground, and you just do these huge just swipes of paint up and down, and you run a little bit faster with it, and it's basically a melee weapon.
Okay.
And I kind of agreed with that at first, but by the time I got done, it was like, okay, there's a purpose for that weapon, but there's also a purpose for the gun. So I ended up using the gun almost the entire time just because I felt like, okay, now you can actually have a little bit more spray vertically, and you can cover some vertical walls that people playing as the paint roller can't get to.
Yeah. Okay.
And when the paint rollers run at you, if you just back up a little bit, you can hope, if you notice them, you can normally, back up and shoot them before they can hit you with the paint roller because their movement speed is increased a bit when they're rolling.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But
that's kind of cool.
As the paint roller, I also had some things where I was playing as the gun and people would just swim up behind me if I was close to their paint, pop up because you're almost invisible when you're a squid, pop up behind me, smack me with the roller, and then I'd be dead. So
that's such a weird mechanic. Just I don't know. I'm kind of surprised. The more you talk about this, the more it seems like not a not like a normal shooter game at all. Especially with the stealth mechanic. You're saying it's a fast paced game that has stealth mechanics.
I mean, I actually didn't even encounter that until my last couple games. There was one or two guys who were playing that way, and I went, wow, that's actually really smart. I never even thought to do that. Just because when I was the paint roller, I was kind of just trying to run at them and then just go, God, I hope I catch them before they kill me.
Yeah. But these guys were hiding. Were they just sit in their own paint and you can't see them while they're sitting there?
Well, no, you can move. So as soon as you turn to the squid, you're basically invisible. And I mean, as a squid, your movement speed is 2 or 3 times the speed it would be of walking.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, just I don't know, everything about this. And again, it's so well balanced that most games, you get, okay, well, this is a sniping level. Okay, well, this is the melee level. This is the vehicle level. You get all those things. But I think there are only 3 maps, I don't know, 2 or 3 maps, but each one, there's a purpose, it feels like, for every character. And that's the thing that I like about this.
That's kind of cool.
There is a purpose to the gun. There is a purpose to the paint roller. I'm sure there's a purpose to the sniper rifle thing. I couldn't figure it out. I only played 2 games as it because both games I came in 4th place on the losing team and went, okay, well we'll be done with that for a while. So.
Yeah, I've heard it has a limited range, which is super weird for a sniper rifle, and it only puts out a really small line of paint. I feel like a lot of people had not figured out what the heck the purpose of that was, because I remember reading some previews nobody could figure out what the heck the point of the sniper rifle was.
I know there's some different game types, so my thought with it is there's got to be some game type where maybe this is a more efficient weapon.
Yeah.
Maybe a game that's more based around kills or something like that. But in this turf war game,
yeah,
it seems like the sniper really doesn't necessarily fit quite as well as the assault rifle type and the paint roller. But I don't know, and even just seeing different ways that the enemy team was composed. So I played a lot of teams where it was 4 paint rollers.
Oh, okay.
And then I played a team that was 2 guns, 2 paint rollers, and then I played one that was 3 guns and a paint roller, or 3 paint rollers and a gun. And I'm sure that there's a way that you can come up with this idea of having a strategy base just set around what types of weapon sets you're playing against.
Because the squads actually, because I feel in Team Fortress 2, if everybody plays heavy, you're just dead, you're just not gonna win or something like that, or
yeah.
So you try to get it balanced across, but you're saying that you can still be a successful team with these really imbalances between the types.
Yeah, I played a couple games where it was 4 paint rollers, and I think I won a couple and I lost a couple, and at no point did it really feel super unbalanced to me. There were some people complaining about that, but to me at least, I didn't feel like there was any. I felt like it was balanced really well. So
I guess my final question, because you'd wrote this to me on the Facebook, you'd messaged me that this was going to be a day one purchase for you. So we always know how we talk about day one purchases is that they're not a thing that we do, but we keep doing them as we talk about it. So why is this now a day one purchase? I mean, this is still a multiplayer only game. Is this worth $60 to you?
Yeah, it is.
Is that good? I mean, God dang.
It is. It is so much fun. And to me, I think of it like Smash. And a lot of people probably go crazy because Smash is the holy grail of video games to a lot of people. But it has that same feeling of, as I'm playing this, it's so short and quick that my first thought is, as the game ended, was, okay, I need to play another one.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I need to play another one. I need to play another one. And I don't get that feeling very often at this point, especially with multiplayer games. I
Yeah.
don't get that feeling. Okay, I'll play one or two more and call it good. But that first hour, and I want to talk about that in a second too, but that first hour, it felt like I played that game for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden I just got a connection error. Oh, well, why is this not... Oh, it's 12:01. Crap. Dang it. I want to play... Well, I guess I'm waking up in, 7 hours to play again.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, those times were whack.
Yeah. But anyway, to me it's just... It has that appeal of... I could sit down, I could play this, and I could easily at this point just see myself sit down and go, okay, I'm going to play this for 20 minutes, and sit there for 2 hours and play it.
Okay.
It's that much fun. It's that just engaging. It's fun the whole time. There was never a moment where I'm like, all right, we got a minute left. Okay, I guess I can just kind of chill here and as soon as you stop thinking, as soon as you stop playing, game's over. There was one point where I went to check my phone and went, oh crap, I can't. If I stop, we are going to lose.
You're like, oh, that's kind of... So you're fully engaged the entire... Because I feel like Battlefield, a lot of these... Because I think there was a tendency for a while, a good multiplayer game just means a lot of players. But with Battlefield especially, it feels like you spend a lot of time just trying to get places. And you're not doing a whole lot during that time. So it's kind of cool. I think we talked about this last time with games that sort of make you think, and they require your full attention. And I like that. I think that's kind of cool. Yeah. God dang it! Now I kind of want to play this. Maybe I'll get a Wii U. I don't know.
And I think that whole being fully attentive is a part of the game type, because every person matters. I had a couple of games where people are just kind of sitting there, and you can't win. If all 4 players aren't playing, you can't win, just because it's purely a how much ground you cover game. In Battlefield, one of my issues with Battlefield is I always feel like if I just stop, it's not going to matter to anyone else, because there's 32, 64 other players doing their thing, instead of just having me be a focal point.
Oh, that's kind of cool. That's probably because of the small numbers too.
Exactly.
How many people? Yeah, is it 4v4?
Yeah, it's just 4v4. So again, I think the small teams really contribute to that feeling of importance as a member of a team, as opposed to just being one of a number.
Yeah, the one thing I am worried about is you talk about this. I'm wondering if it's just this is the exploratory phase of the game, and nobody really knows how to play the game perfect. So people aren't really hardcore about it, and everybody's just sort of learning the game. So I'm worried is once people start to know the game a lot better, is it become less fun because it's going to be just straight up more competitive and there's not a lot more exploration.
I guess with that, I go back to the Smash point. There are people who spend an ungodly amount of time learning Smash and playing Smash and perfecting exactly when to do every single little thing.
Yeah, that's one of those.
But I can still jump in and online and play Smash and have a great time.
Okay, yeah, I can see it. Man, Nintendo's really good at doing that. I like that Nintendo has just such a... They're weird and they're dumb sometimes, but they're not dumb. But they're definitely they're definitely on the beat of a totally different drum.
I think the thing with Nintendo is they're just what's going to be fun?
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones, it's what am I going to do to sell as many consoles as I can? What am I going to do to sell as many copies as I can? And not that Nintendo's not trying to be profitable, not trying to be, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I just think their focus is on, we're going to create something unique, and being unique and being fun is what's going to drive our sales, not we have the biggest this or the best this, or it's fun. Come play our games because they're fun.
Yeah,
God, who would have thought that would be a unique strategy?
Yeah, I was talking about this last week. I just keep playing way too many serious games, and I was just looking. Right now I have Infamous and Killzone Shadowfall just sitting there because I just need to play a game that's just happy and goofy and stupid, which actually I'm doing.
Splatoon. So before we get to that game that you're playing, which I am really, really curious about, actually.
Yeah.
So this almost goes with kind of a news discussion, but anyway, Nintendo's strategy with this, I don't know how I feel about it, but I think it really, really helped this game in particular. And so Nintendo's strategy with this is, we're going to release a beta. But instead of just opening up for the whole weekend, you can play it for this hour, 11 p.m. to midnight Friday night, this hour, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Saturday morning, and this hour, 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, the reason they did that is actually because this wasn't a beta. I realized as I was reading this, it's actually a stress test, which is a very different type.
Oh yeah, that's completely different.
Yeah, no, it's completely different. That's what I thought was weird, because people were actually playing the game. usually when a stress test occurs, everybody gets on the servers and the servers crash. And that's what they test. They test how many people their servers can hold before everything just falls apart. And things just normally fall apart. In a stress test, you don't really get to do a whole lot because the servers are constantly going down. But this is like kind of like Nintendo does a stress test, but you actually get to play the game and their servers actually held, which I thought was
I never had
surprising.
a single connection issue the entire time.
But I'm also wondering it's just because there's not a whole lot of Wii U's in people's hands.
That's also true. I think if you did this with like a new Killzone or a new Halo on Xbox One or PS4, I think you'd get a very different result. But
Yeah.
I mean, just from a marketing standpoint, though, if you think about this, you had every single video game person in the world talking about these games for 3 straight hours. You know what I mean? There's nothing else going on except Splatoon. And the fact of the matter is that the game is so good that it instantly caught a whole lot more attention. Because I think this game, had they not done something like this game would have flown under so many people's radar. I think the biggest comment I saw all weekend was, where the hell did this come from? This is not what this game should be. Why is this so much fun? Like, I just saw that over and over again. Like, you said, I have a passing interest in this. Yeah. I saw so many posts that had a passing interest in this, just did my pre-order.
Yeah, that was actually, that jumped to the number one, like, Wii U pre-order. Like, during that time, like, it immediately jumped to all the pre-orders went crazy on Amazon. I thought that was kind of funny.
And I think that's Nintendo going, we have a great game here. We need to do something unique to get the attention to it.
Yeah, like, looking at it, it looks okay looking at it. Like that's what I think of the passing interest is. But I think there's like one of those, you need to have it in your hands.
Yeah, when you play it, it's a completely different feel. It's a completely different thing than just seeing someone play it. Just because it is unique. Like, as much as everybody just wants to say, oh, it's another arena shooter. It's just a multiplayer-only shooter. This is those things, but done in a way that it's almost like Nintendo's never seen a multiplayer shooter before. And they're like,
they probably
so
haven't.
you give 8 people guns and you put them in a room. Okay, that's our idea. What can we do with that?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that was just kind of like their like brainstorming session. There's this thing called Call of Duty. I don't understand it, but the gist is this. How can we make that? And this is what came out.
Yeah, it actually reminds me a lot of like a 90s Nickelodeon, like the goopy, like the goopy area of Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah, yep. Oh yes, very much.
I don't know. This game, it looks kind of cool. Yeah.
Needless to say, at this point, if you have a Wii U, if you look at a trailer, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. You need to play this game. This is a game that if you didn't get a chance to play it this weekend, it comes out. If you don't want to just jump on it, I would go rent it, give it a try, because you will end up buying it because it is that good. I can't imagine somebody playing this and not enjoying it.
Jeez, dang.
I liked this game.
Crap! I'll get a Wii U eventually. Maybe we'll see.
All right. Anyway, moving on a little bit. So, you were playing some Shadow Warrior this weekend, which I'm really curious about, because that's one of those games that's kind of that, when I find this game for really cheap, I want to try it because I'm curious. So I'm really, really interested to see what you're thinking about this game.
Yeah, this is one of those, my purchase was dictated entirely by sales. So like Wolfenstein was $11. That's when it was like $13, or I think I spent $16 on it. It's like, okay, that's within my price range for it. The best way to describe this game is this is the game I thought Wolfenstein: The New Order was going to be. So we talked about last time, we thought like Wolfenstein would just be kind of like a stupid shooter with really dumb jokes and really stupid characters. Yep. And it's that game. That is that game. It's a stupid, stupid game. The jokes are terrible. It's borderline. Some of them are borderline racist. And like the characters are kind of charming. I guess I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So this game, like, I guess because not a lot of people know what Shadow Warrior is. Shadow Warrior is a balls to the wall shooter in the same vein as Serious Sam, Painkiller, Original Doom, where you're just basically going from arena to arena and shooting the shit up. And in this one, it's that same concept with really good graphics and in sort of like an Asian-inspired setting. I think it's actually Chinese. I think it might be Chinese. So you're fighting in like temples, you're fighting Chinese demons and stuff like that. The thing that's really weird about this game, it's one of the first like janky console games I've ever played. When I had a PC, I didn't have a very good PC, when I was playing PC games. So I was kind of used to like constant like frame drops or screen tearing or some things just kind of popping in because I had to turn down the settings. This game has a lot of that. So
like intentionally, or just
no,
because it's just not running well?
That's not running well. Like it runs like this is like runs at 60 frames per second should be put in like the most giant quotes possible. It sometimes runs at 60 frames per second. But as soon as like explosions start going off, like it cranks down so hard. It's just like oh my gosh, it's like a slideshow sometimes. And that's the bad stuff. That's like kind of the bad stuff I wanted to get out of the way. It also has kind of like a slow roll. Like you're not really sure. When I was playing, I was like, I don't know if I'm really feeling this game. But I'd say about an hour in, it sort of started to dawn on me that like, oh my god, this is Painkiller 2. Like I freaking love Painkiller. That's actually one of my favorite games ever. And I liked it because they just kind of sent like an overwhelming number of enemies at you, and you got really, really cool guns. So, like, it takes, like, the number of enemies from, like, Serious Sam and Painkiller. But you know in Bulletstorm when you got, like, points for doing certain kills?
Yeah, yep, and there was a whole scoring mechanic, and you had to do unique things, and yeah.
Yeah, they don't go as heavily involved with, like, the unique things, but, like, when you blow a guy's head off, it'll say, like, Shredder, or Headshot, or, like, if you cut off a guy's arm, and he, like, just slowly walks away and dies, it just says Merciless, and, yeah.
See, I love Painkiller style games, and I have an oddly fond memory of Bulletstorm. Like, I really enjoyed that game way more than I should have for what it was.
Oh man, if you like those games, by the way, if you like Serious Sam games or you like Painkiller games, this should be like an instant buy for sure. It is that type of game through and through. It's just got that certain level of jankiness that I couldn't say, oh, you should definitely spend $30 on it. But for like the $16 I spent on it, just a ton of fun, just a lot of shooting, really gory, and for whatever reason, it has a really, really good upgrade and melee mechanic, which is not something you expect from like a shooter like this at all. Because most of these shooters, there's almost no upgrades. Bulletstorm had a little bit, but usually you get a gun and that's it. But this one, you get like damage boost, you get additional firing that you can get, like clip increase, and you also get spells. Which you need to do certain button combinations. So you press like left, hold L2, you can heal. If you press up R2, then you get a super strike. If you press back R2, then you can like do like a lift power. So it's kind of like these old games, but like all these cool little twists that I wasn't expecting. I don't think it gives it more depth, but I think it just gives a little bit more room for you to sort of like dig around.
And that's always the best part. Like that goes back to that fun part is.
Yeah.
I want a part where I can just stick around and do something stupid and enjoy that. Like, more games need that aspect to it of just, okay, have some fun for a minute.
Oh, yeah. No, this game is, like, it's super silly. It's really, really silly. Like, the guy is constantly shooting out one-liners about, like, oh, did that blow your mind?
See, and I love stupid crap like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's...
Yeah. I don't know if you ever... I think you bought it, but did you ever play Eat Lead, The Return of Matt Hazard?
I know what it is, but yeah.
That's another game where it's just dumb stuff like that over and over again, and I had way too much fun with that game.
Yeah, it is kind of like in that vein where it's like very self-aware, it's very stupid, but it's fun. It's just really fun. If you can find it for cheap, yeah, absolutely pick it up. I'm on chapter 6. I don't know what that means. Basically, what happened
after chapter 5?
Yeah, exactly. What happened was like they're like, go pick up thing, and then I spent a few chapters, and then I got thing, and they're like, wait a second, there's 3 more thing. So I have no idea how long this game is. I've enjoyed it for like a few hours that I've played it. I'll probably do a follow up like once I actually finish it, and I assume Brad's probably going to pick this up, so maybe we'll talk about it.
The way you're talking about it, that is probably going to happen soon.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, just a really fun game, really violent. Oh yeah, I just want to talk real quick about the melee mechanic. So you get a samurai sword, which is pretty cool. But you actually get like quite a few moves with it. Like you can do like vertical versus horizontal slashes. You get about 5 different chi moves, which are like charge moves. And the coolest one by far is this one where you spin in a circle, but it's in first person. So you like stick your sword out and you spin in a circle, and you do like you cut off like 5 or 6 guys' heads at once. It's so much fun.
So with the melee thing, does that actually have like? Is there a difference between a vertical and a horizontal, or is it just the fact that you can do both?
Well, you can cut off a guy's limb if you want, or you can like cut off through him like through the chest. I don't think it's from what I've seen so far. No, it doesn't really matter. But it's just kind of the game gives you so many options just to mess around. Because you're always given enough. You're always given enough ammo. That you can use whatever weapon you want for however long you want. So you basically just pick your favorite weapons, and then do whatever crazy moves you want. Doesn't matter. You can just use your regular moves to kill people.
But why would you want to do that?
Yeah, well, no, exactly. So you can take a few. It's like I'll take a few hits, but it'll look pretty cool when I cut this demon's head off. Really, just
Nice.
really fun game. But yeah, it's Painkiller too, which is super cool.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That hits like all my what I want bullet points.
Mhm.
All right. The other game I was playing this week, and I could probably talk about this game for a long time because this is one of my all-time favorite games, is I started playing Final Fantasy X, the HD Remaster.
Mhm.
This
For
is weird
PS3.
for me. What?
For PS3, right?
For PS3, yeah. I was on the PS3 version. This was weird for me. This is the first time I've ever actually bought an HD Remaster. I have never bought one up until now, ever.
Seriously?
Just because I hate them and I don't like the idea of them. I cannot, looking through my stuff, and as I started playing this, I realized I think this is the first time I've ever done this. It is the only one I have.
That's
Just
crazy.
because I hate the concept so much. I hate buying things twice. It makes no sense.
You don't have
to me.
Last of Us Remastered?
I don't know. I've almost bought it a couple times. So I found it for like 10 or 15 bucks, but I can't bring myself to do it because I have it sitting here already. If I want to play it, I can just play it on my PS3. I can't do it. It hurts me to do it. But I actually did it with this one because, like I said, this is in my mind. Like, I haven't played this game. It came out in 2002 was when this game came out, which was 13 years ago at this point. So at this point, I thought in my head this was one of my favorite games, but I haven't played it in 13 years. So I was just curious to see, okay, where actually does this game hold up 13 years later? Is this actually one of my favorite games or not? So I found it for cheap and I bought it.
So did it hold up?
Absolutely. And I was kind of curious to put this, to go get my PS2 copy out and put it in just to see how it compares like side by side.
Yeah.
Just because I obviously worked on it, but in terms of story, gameplay, mechanics, all that kind of stuff, this game is as good as ever. I really, 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 really have been loving playing this game. I'm about 10 hours in at this point. Granted, I forgot to pause it and left for a half hour, so my whole time's all messed up, which
I
is
hate
one of
that.
those things that really bothers me.
Oh my god, I hate that so much in games. It's like how long did it take you to beat that game? Well, it says 100 hours, but I think I left it on for a day.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I fell asleep for 6 or 7 hours there.
So annoying.
But yeah, so I'm like 10 hours ish into this game, and I am just, as I'm playing it in my mind, I'm just going, I completely remember why this is one of my favorite games ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the story itself is so good, and the gameplay, I honestly forgot how much I missed just a standard turn-based game with like no gimmicks in it.
Yeah. This is weird because this is like the only Final Fantasy game I actually like.
Really?
Yeah, this game I almost beat a few times. I got to. This is not a spoiler. I think
The game's 13 years old. There's no spoilers.
We're gonna talk about spoilers. So if you haven't played Final Fantasy X, just go play this game, mute it for a bit, and then come back later. I got to the final sin battle twice, and
Yep.
my sister deleted my save twice.
You know what's really funny is I got to that battle twice. The first time, my PS2 memory card, I don't know why or how, just crapped out. It just stopped
God.
working. I lost all of my saves on that entire memory card, which happened, of course, like right after I got to the final battle.
Yeah.
And then the second time I finished it. But anyway.
This is now your third time going through this game, and you're still liking it.
I'm loving it. I mean, again, the last two times I played it were 12, 13 years ago.
That's true,
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just so well done. And again, I can't stress how much I love non-gimmicky turn-based games. I don't know. It's just, there's something about just going through the menus and picking the menus and planning everything out and not having to sit here and worry about, did I get that button press timed right? did I correctly buff, or well, you do have to worry about buffs, but like, did I, like, before going in, did I approach the enemy from the right angle to get the ambush thing? Like, it's just, the enemy shows up and you fight it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And I miss that. I don't feel like there's that many games that are actually doing that at this point.
No, I think Square's actually, I think they have that Bravely Default series.
Yes.
Which is, I think they're trying to bring back a little bit of that like traditional turn-based stuff. I think traditional turn-based is still available to you, but it's definitely not nearly as popular. And because they're trying to get a niche audience, they have sort of nichey things that go around along with that, like weird anime girl stuff.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of weird anime girl JRPGs now.
Oh yeah, there's tons of that, and even like Persona. Like my issue with Persona is always I get bored in like the like side sessions where it's just I'm walking around in school. And I don't know. I'm like I do like Persona. Just throwing that out there. But like this is just, you know what? You go through the story, you fight something. There's no I need to go here and do this. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know.
It's like linear. It's linear.
Yeah, it's linear. I mean, to a point, obviously, but there's not this whole like, oh, I need to build up a relationship with this character, and oh, this character's mad at me. It's just go through the story and just play the story, and I miss that. And I think that was kind of why, in my mind, PS2 is like the like king of like these turn-based JRPG games, is because that's what they were. Is they were just this, and maybe I want that because that's what I grew up on. But to me, that's what these should be, and I want more of that.
Yeah, it's just pure like here's the story part, here's the battle part, here's the story part here, and you can't. And the thing is, I don't think it'll really let you screw up too much.
Yeah,
like you could always grind your way out of pretty much any problem.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of what I think that there's like when I was playing Persona, the thing I was always nervous about was like when I was combining, I was feeling like it's like online I'll bet there's some like crazy tree that I'm supposed to follow in order to get the perfect persona. But here, there's not a lot of stress, even though you have a lot of options with that sphere grid, which I actually love. I love the sphere grid.
Oh, I love the sphere grid, yeah. It's a great level-up system.
I'm surprised nobody else like just straight up stole that, because that was kind of cool, because you could sort of like figure out how you want it. Like, you could see what ability you want your character to get, and you could like had to figure out the path that you wanted to get to that ability. I thought that was really kind of neat. And there's no real guessing of what was going to happen next, because the whole thing's like laid out for you, so you know exactly what you're getting every time you level up.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how long it's going to take you to get there. I don't know. I love this game, and this definitely holds a spot as one of my favorite games ever. And I mean, the pacing of this game, too, works so well. You never spend too much time in one place.
Yeah.
Everything seems like it's exactly the length it should be. And that's my issue. I've been playing Final Fantasy VII a little bit, too, just because I never actually finished that one, and I got it on my Vita, so I've been playing that just kind of here and there. But my issue with that one is it just seems like there's some times where it's like, okay, holy crap, I've been in this place for this long. Do I still really need to be here?
Yeah.
And I played Ni no Kuni just last year, and I had that same thing, like, okay, I've been in this same place for so long, I just need to move on and see something different.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I liked it too. I liked this was like one of those games I actually I thought it had a pretty good twist. I don't know, I feel like a lot of JRPGs just feel like they take a long time to tell a story, but that doesn't necessarily mean the story is really good. But I felt this one, like, I thought the story was kind of neat. I thought it was kind of cool, like, that they don't like Riku, like the what is it, the Albed?
Yep, the Albed, and Waka has like his huge like racist thing with the Albed.
Yeah, like he hates him. Like I thought that was kind of cool. And that doesn't really go away for like it takes like a long time to trust her, and I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
And I also like the whole like Yuna has to kill herself, and then one of the Guardians has to. I think one of the Guardians then has to like take the place of Sin. Yep,
because that's how you find out that the main character's dad is Sin, and and even that like that's revealed like maybe 7 or 8 hours in, and 2 hours in it's you're actually 1,000 years in the future, and an hour in it's that town you saw in the intro thing, that whole thing's been blown up now. So it's like you get these little chunks that actually get you to keep going as you go through the game. It's not like just you're 15 hours in, here's a big twist, you're 25 hours in, here's the big thing. It's laid out so well.
Yeah, I remember the characters. Like, I actually remember the characters for one. Like, I remember their names, which is huge.
Great characters.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why this game sort of stuck with me, and I guess obviously stuck with you. Like, why this Final Fantasy and not something like Final Fantasy 8 or 9 or 12 or 13?
I really like 13. That one stuck.
You're
with me pretty
crazy
well.
though, so
I know. I'm in the hatred filled camp there, but 13 stuck. Well, 13's also only like 5 years old, but
that's true.
I like 13. I don't know. There's just something. It's one of those games where I just, in my mind, there's something just so special about this game that it just feels like it's one of those games that I could go back and play at any time and just love the whole thing.
Yeah, it felt like, actually, as we're sitting here talking, it felt like a fun adventure that they were going on. I mean, until you find out like the whole suicide pact thing.
Yeah, but I mean, even after that, like it's such a light-hearted game that even with the whole suicide piece and the world ending, it's still fun, and like the characters themselves enjoy their journey. It's not like oh god, we got to get here, and oh, I'm so depressed, I'm gonna have to kill myself. It's like, no, you know what, I'm gonna have to do this, but this is for the good, and and hey, you know what, enjoy it while you can. And of course, you've got like the obnoxious laughter scene thrown in there. Just I
don't think that scene's that bad. I don't know why people are always all up on that scene.
It's out of context.
Isn't the whole thing he's like trying to force a laugh, and that's why it's so weird?
Yeah, he's trying. Again, in context, it works because it's like, if I remember correctly, that scene happens like right after you find out that Sin, the big evil monster that's destroying the world, is your father. And it's like Yuna's like, no, like just laugh it off, and you know what, and everything will be okay. So it's supposed to be an awkward scene, and again, out of context, like it's weird, but
it's super awkward. Yeah. Can we talk about how stupid Blitzball is for a second?
Yeah, in my mind, I remember liking it, and as I was going through like the story, I was like, "Oh man, this is just a big statistics problem." And then I got to it, I was like, "This isn't a big statistics problem. This is just a big mess of crap."
Yeah. Oh my god.
So for those of you who don't know what Blitzball is, it's Final Fantasy X's version of soccer.
Yeah, turn-based soccer, which is
very turn-based soccer.
But it's not even turn-based soccer. It's like really heavily stat-based turn-based soccer, which is like, I don't know why it wasn't just soccer. Like, I don't know why they didn't just make an awesome 3D soccer game. I do know why, because it actually take way too much time.
Yeah. No, it feels like something they just slapped together and like, well, we have this big sports thing. We'll slap together a really shitty mini game to make people play.
Well, they did.
All right. Well, anyway, I think we could probably sit here and talk about this game forever because it's so good. But we need to move on. Mm-hmm. So this really means nothing to me because unlike Final Fantasy X, which I played a lot, this is a game that I never had really any interest in at all, and I don't know why.
Oh my god!
But MediEvil is a game that was a PS1 game. Did it ever make it off PS1, or is it only there?
No, it did not. That's what makes this hurt so much more.
There you go. So go with that.
Okay. I guess I'll have to explain this one. Okay. So I guess this happened on Monday-ish. No, actually no. This was later in the week. Maybe like
it was like Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday. This guy released a 1-second image of Daniel Fortescue, who is the main character from MediEvil, walking through a very, very next-gen version of what looked like the MediEvil area, Gallowmere, I think is what it's called. And people went crazy. The guy had said, this is a leak. I'll be showing more soon. And it literally is 4 seconds total, maybe. It was just an animation of...
it's basically a GIF.
Yeah, it was a GIF of him walking down steps and then walking through gates. And he kept teasing all these off-screen images. And this made people go crazy. And I think that was actually the plan with this. The plan, what happened was this all turned out to be fake. But this, from day one, I kind of knew this was a fake. And I'll kind of go into that in a second. But this is definitely one of the best fakes I've ever seen. I'm actually this is actually what I really, really like about fakes recently, is that people are actually taking their time with these fakes. What fake leaks normally are is you spend about 10 seconds photoshopping a title that people want. So, okay, let's say I wanted to leak, quote-unquote, Jack 4. I sit there and I copy the Jack 2 logo, and then scribble in a 4, and then I take a picture of it off screen. And then people go crazy. But they're really lazy, and they're really stupid, and it's I don't know, they're kind of dumb. But I think it's that Rayman leak, quote-unquote, that Rayman fake leak for Super Smash Brothers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the guy spent 100 hours faking the menu screen animations and everything to put them in, and actually created an original artwork for Rayman. I think since then the game has sort of been upped. There was, to be fair, the guy who started the high quality fake leaks was this guy who made up a Nintendo console and made this really, really good promo video for it, which is like called, I think it was called Nintendo On, that a lot of people thought was the Wii for like forever. Like they was like, oh my god, this is Nintendo's next console. And then he also made another fake of Mario Galaxy DS where he actually showed gameplay. He had made fake gameplay for Mario Galaxy DS, and
That's kind of
he,
awesome.
yeah, no, it's super awesome. And he actually used the hardware limitations of the DS to match perfectly with his animations and the texture like resolution and stuff.
People have too much time on their hands.
Yeah, but I think these things are fun. I don't think they're malicious in any ways. But what makes this one particularly genius was that not only did they have gameplay, the person they got to leak this, oh my gosh, this was so smart. The guy that got who got to leak quote unquote is named Blue underscore Eyes. That's his Twitter handle. And the reason it's ingenious that he's the one in particular who actually leaked this is he's the guy who leaked a game called Nico back in the PS2 days, which ended up being Shadow of the Colossus. So he was the first guy to leak Shadow of the Colossus. Like nobody even knew what Shadow of the Colossus was. And this is the guy who took a picture at some like closed Sony press conference thing of the first like Shadow of the Colossus info, which at that time was still called Nico. So they get this guy who has a reputation for leaking real news. They spend hours and hours creating actual gameplay of Dan in the Unreal 4 engine, and then they sort of fake the leak. And I don't know. I thought this was freaking cool. I thought it was really fun.
That dude totally lost all his credibility.
Yeah, but I don't think he cared because he hasn't had any credibility since the PS2 era anyway.
I guess that's true.
And like, who cares if you lose your credibility with like a leak? It's not like it doesn't really matter. It's you get free internet points and that's about it.
Those are important. We'd have a lot more people listening to this if we had more internet points.
That's true. That's true. We need to start investing in more internet points.
Mm-hmm. Donate all your internet points now.
Yeah, I just thought this whole thing was really fun, and I sort of had my suspicions in the beginning from like day one that this was fake, because it was like of a single area. A lot of the assets seem sort of like pre-built from other things. It looked very Unreal 4, and that's not an engine that Sony would normally use. They kind of use their own proprietary engine, so there's kind of like a lot of like little red flags. But just the way they announced this got a lot of people on board. A lot of people thought it was real. But what their final thought on it was they kind of, besides just kind of playing a joke on the internet, which I think is kind of funny, they said they kind of want to get Sony to notice that people like still care about this stuff. Sony is pretty good compared to Microsoft, at least, of like cashing in on nostalgia. Like every once in a while they'll come with like a new game of one of their older franchises, but there's a lot of the PS1 era stuff that's kind of been left in the dust. And MediEvil was one of them, Parappa's another, Jet Moto, Omega Boost, Tomba. There's a lot. And they're kind of the point was like, you know what, Sony? It's like look at how much fervor this caused for like 4 seconds of fake footage of a new MediEvil game. Like people care about this stuff, and it doesn't take a huge investment to make sequels to these games. Like we don't want I don't think people want AAA versions of these games. They just want like small little PSN sequels.
But again, the thing with that is you can sit here and complain all the time that you want that, oh, we don't have sequels to these great PS1 games. How often do you have people just sitting here complaining, like, why doesn't anybody make any new IPs anymore? So you're like, you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things where people are like arguing so fervently that we need new IPs. We're sick of seeing the same stuff over and over again. But there's some of this stuff that we like. Can you come back to that?
I think what it is like when people are tired of sequels, they're tired of like annualized sequels. They're tired, like you were talking about, you're tired of seeing Arkham Combat because Arkham Combat is something that only came out 4 or 5 years ago. We're tired of Call of Duty because Call of Duty Modern Warfare only came out like 7 years ago. We're tired of we're tired of things that we've had the past 5 or 6 years, and the things that are 10 years old now will feel new again, or the things that are 15 years old will feel new again. We're just tired of like the last 5 or so years of we're getting the same sequels to games that are already kind of new, and that's what we don't. Yeah. That's what people don't like. So, like the fact that there's 7 Assassin's Creed game, and I think the first one came out like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was late 2008, 2009. I think.
Yeah,
so, yeah, something
like that. So like that's what people don't like, is they don't like that sort of annualization of franchises while there's still like kind of a whole host of things that can also be annualized.
See, and again, and I think you got a point there, and I think that's just people aren't doing things right. If you look at like Final Fantasy, again, getting back to that, but nobody's complaining about a new Final Fantasy game because at least the mainline Final Fantasies, obviously you got like the little like spin-off side series, whatever, are every 3, 4, depending. I mean, at this point, 12 was like 2005, 13 was like 2009, 15 is like I mean, it's if you space stuff out, nobody's going to get sick of this.
Yeah, and then people were also mad at like Final Fantasy 13.2 and 13.3 because they came out so close together.
Yeah, I'm not, but
you guys are crazy. We've already gone over this.
But I don't know. I think it's one of those things where video games are kind of at a loss there because you make so much money from these annualized sequels, but at the same time, people lose interest in them over time, and you kind of kill your franchise really quick.
Yeah.
I mean, whereas if you do this like spread out thing, then you don't have that huge thing that you're making money off of.
It's
I don't know. It's one of those double-edged sword type of things, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, you think about like Grand Theft Auto games. Like people, like when a Grand Theft Auto game comes out, it's an event because they don't come out that often. When an Assassin's Creed, I mean, they're announcing a new Assassin's Creed tomorrow. I don't know if you know that, but it's like
I do.
Nobody's like cares. It's like, okay, it's another Assassin's Creed because they've had so many Assassin's Creed. Like if you announce something that like, I don't know, that happened 10 years ago, or just I don't know, just gotta. I think it's all about just the time.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm kind of
in my mind, I'm going back to Kid Icarus for the 3DS from like 2 or 3 years ago. Like, people got really excited for that game, and it sold a lot of 3DSs because it'd been like 15 years since there'd been a Kid Icarus game.
Yeah. And they teased him in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and like, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale was not the greatest game ever. It was an okay game. I like it just because I like PlayStation characters. But Dan was in that, like, and Spike from Ape Escape, and Parappa. Yep. And I think that got a lot of people, that started like whetting people's appetite. Like, oh wait, Sony does remember those guys. Is Sony bring those guys back? So I think it was because of that too. That's why people were so, when this new fake came out, it was like, oh my god, MediEvil's coming back, because people were sort of prepared for it. Like I think people are kind of, especially with like PlayStation franchises, people are just kind of like, okay, guys, you showed us that you still know about these things, especially with that whole gamers, like, oh, we like gamers and stuff like that. They kept mentioning all their franchises, but they haven't really done anything with that yet. Yeah,
that's pretty true. Yeah. All right, so speaking of announcing games that we want to, Sony has announced that they are skipping Gamescom, which is one of the bigger games press events, whatever, conferences, whatever you want to call them, things this year. And they kind of came out and said, well, they're not necessarily skipping it. They'll probably still have like games and stuff there, but they're not doing the big showy press conference thing this year there. Kind of their explanation for why was they said, okay, well, some of these things got moved around. E3's later this year. Gamescom was going to be earlier. And we just feel like we've got more news that we could spread out over the course of the year. So instead, they're choosing to do this thing that I've never heard of called Paris Game Week, which is in October. I don't know what that is, but they said,
I get the feeling that's kind of new, especially compared with Gamescom. Like, I feel like Gamescom was sort of like Europe's E3. I think last year was actually after E3, and it was like a month, or there was like a month gap from whatever to whatever. So Sony had like 2 press conferences where they announced like the first half of their games at E3, and then the second half of their kind of smaller arty games at Gamescom. But because there's a week difference, I think I can kind of understand why they're skipping it.
Yeah, it seemed like their kind of thing was, well, there's only like 2 weeks in between here, and we just kind of showed you all this, so don't get over anxious. Calm down. We only got so much going.
Mm-hmm. It is a bit weird because I'm wondering what they're also going to do for PSX this year, because PSX is in December. That's what it was last year anyway, so I assume it's going to be like that. So we're going to have another like huge gap of like no info for a while.
But
after
Tokyo
E3.
Game Show's in there too somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's true. There's a lot of game shows recently.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's kind of why it's like, whatever. They're skipping this, Hey, there's plenty of other times for you to announce stuff, and it's not like an extra announcement's going to actually mean an extra game. I just might need to be a bit patient on hearing it, but
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm not super familiar with, but I know you're kind of interested / excited. I think I don't really know.
Yeah.
Black Mesa Part 2, which is some kind of Half-Life thing.
So okay, I guess I got to start. Half-Life is probably my favorite franchise of all time.
We're hitting a lot of those today.
Yeah. This is like way more than Kingdom Hearts or anything. I was like so in high school, like I was so into Half-Life. I knew everything. I got all the art books and read all the developer interviews and stuff. So I was really really into it. And there was this one, and when Half-Life 2 came out, it like blew everybody away because the graphics are so cool. Now it's pretty outdated. But on the back of everybody's mind, like even as soon as Half-Life 2 launched, people were like, "Oh, are they ever going to remake Half-Life 1 to make it look like Half-Life 2?" So
because HD remasters are so great.
you just talked about how much you loved one. Anyway,
one very specific one.
So this is the thing that's actually been talked about since like 2004. So it's now been like 11 years. They started on this mod, geez, probably 10 years ago, like almost like around Half-Life 2. I remember when like Black Mesa was announced. It was kind of a big deal. And basically what this was a full remake. This is not a remaster, by the way. This is a remake, which is a bit different.
Yeah.
So they basically, instead of just porting it over, they actually, create all their new models. They did all their own voice work, and they remade from scratch Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2. And they released that mod finally in 2012. And that mod is honestly like I was really into Half-Life mods for a long time. Is the best mod I've ever played for Half-Life 2, easily.
Even though it's just Half-Life 2?
Half-Life 1. Yeah, it kinda, but the thing was like people just didn't expect it to be good because because like if you remake like Half-Life 1 is also one of the greatest games of all time. So if you remake the greatest game of all time, there's going to be like really crazy expectations for it. But it turned out that Black Mesa was actually pretty damn decent. And that came out in 2012, so now they've had like 3 years to work on it, which is like a year in like most developers' time. Just because this is like a bunch of guys just working in their basements and stuff. And as much as like, and now they're going to release it for $20 with the Half-Life 1 Deathmatch as well. And we still don't have Zen, which is not cool. This is not really a spoiler because we're talking about Half-Life, and this is forever ago. But 1998. So if you haven't played Half-Life by now, you should probably.
I don't know what Zen means.
Are you serious, Brad? I'm disappointed. You can't have a podcast and not know what Zen is.
I probably know what Zen is. I just don't, off the top of my head, remember what it was. I played Half-Life like 15 years ago and never touched it again.
All right, Zen is like the alien planet you go to for like the last third of the game.
Oh! I didn't know that had a name. Okay, yeah. Yep, I know what that is.
So the mod actually didn't have that part of it.
But that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, so now they're releasing the full version of the mod, and it still doesn't have Zen, but they're still charging $20 for it. So I'm a little iffy on this. So this game's on early access for $20, and while it's got some improvements from the free mod, I just can't see justifying $20 for it quite yet. I think though that if this game came out with the Zen levels, hopefully that's what the full version will have. They're actually still like, oh, we don't know when we're actually getting around to doing that. So they're still being pretty cagey about it. So right now, I don't know if it's worth $20. But you should get the original free mod. The free mod is still up for whatever reason. So if you need like your Half-Life 1 fix now, I would definitely pick that up right now. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of excited, but I'm like sort of tepidly excited because I'm just waiting for them to come out the full version. And if there was a full version release for $20, absolutely worth it.
It seems weird to me that you're going to release something that's not the full version.
Yeah, this game has had like the craziest development cycle ever. They've had issues forever. People like constantly dropping out of the projects. They've had like they've had like a lot of internal fights that like made people like not work on the project for years. Valve's been kind of on their back because they said it was a source game when they technically weren't allowed to call it a source game because they didn't license the engine. It was just a free mod. And there's just a lot of weird stuff in the development of this. So I kind of understand, but I can also understand that if most people don't understand and don't want to drop $20 and they're kind of hesitant, I would say, yeah, you have the right to be hesitant, and you should probably wait until the full version comes out.
All right. Well, speaking of things that are probably going to be a very full and complete game, There's rumors going around that Fallout 4 is going to be at E3. So there was kind of some information that came out that basically said they're going to present actual gameplay from the game, and it's going to be 20 or 30-minute long demo. And they actually have press conference this year at E3, which they've never done before.
Yeah.
So everybody's thinking this has to be something big. But yeah, what do you think the odds are of us seeing Fallout 4?
I kind of expected it. It was kind of expected because I think when they announced when Bethesda was like, okay, we're gonna do our first E3 press conference ever, like they wouldn't do that if they didn't really have a lot to announce.
Mm-hmm.
And
Everybody, you know, it's they either have a new Elder Scrolls or they have a new Fallout.
yeah, I think people, I mean people really like Skyrim. I don't doubt it, but they always did sort of a back and forth of like they did Elder Scrolls, then they did Fallout, and then they didn't do Fallout New Vegas. They actually had another company do Fallout New Vegas, and then they had Skyrim. So it's just kind of like people are just kind of expecting another Fallout. So to me, this isn't like really shocking news. It's just kind of expected news, I guess. I'm kind of excited though. I kind of like those games. I really didn't like the VAT system, so I'm really hoping that they just kind of double down on it actually being just a really cool shooter instead of like this weird. I always feel like when you try to please everybody, you just kind of crap out on both because the shooting wasn't very good and it wasn't really turn based.
Yeah, I kind of have like a love-hate relationship with that game. There's so much I like, but Fallout 3, at least I never played New Vegas, but I don't know, there's so much I like, but there's also so much that just bothered me and just kind of got boring at parts. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would, as soon as they announce it, I'll be all over it, and I'll be excited for a fourth one. Just it's one of those games that I never got quite to the level of hype that a lot of other people did.
Yeah, I thought this was like one of those. I thought it had a lot of potential. Like how we talked about The Order. Like this game was okay, but man, if they like really refined it and cut out a lot of the bullshit and the games were those games were janky as hell too.
Oh yeah.
They kind of felt like they were just ready to fall apart at any point.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. All right. So our last thing here, which is something that I still don't understand why you love so much. Tony Hawk 5 or like 16, depending on how you count, had some new information come out. First screenshots came out of it. Yeah. And I know Tony Hawk is another one of your favorite series ever, and I don't really understand why. But anyway, what'd you think of all that new Tony Hawk stuff?
Okay, how could you not understand that I like Tony Hawk a lot? Like, okay, I'll say like...
You can't... Have you ever stood on a skateboard?
No.
That's why. There you go.
No, but I've never beat somebody up in an alley, but I like Tekken. I don't think you need I don't think you really even need to like skateboarding to like Tony Hawk games. They're not skateboarding games. Like Skate is a skateboarding game.
Okay. Yeah, I guess
Tony
that's
Hawk is like I don't know what Tony Hawk is like. Tony Hawk is like a weird combo-y game where you run around in an environment and try to find and get lots of points and like throw donuts at people and piss off your angry neighbor.
Depending on which one you're playing.
Yeah, and when I say I like Tony Hawk, I mean I'm like most people were. I like Tony Hawk 1 through, say, Thug 2.
Yeah, yep, that's about where it ends.
Yeah. Yeah. So they announced Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, which is I hope they understand what they said when they said Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5.
Yeah, and not Tony Hawk 14 or whatever number they're on.
Yeah, because Tony Hawk is not really... Tony Hawk is actually like a bunch of different franchises if you think about it. Like, because there's the Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and there's Tony Hawk Underground, then there's Tony Hawk American Wasteland, and then there's just a bunch of gobbledygook after that.
I would put American Wasteland in with Underground. Those games were basically the same. Wasn't American Wasteland just the same thing, except they added all the jackass guys?
No, that's Tony Hawk's Underground 2. American Wasteland's kind of like the open world one.
Oh, yeah, that one sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of like a return to the best games in the series. This is kind of like announcing Sonic 4, like they did a while ago, and that turned out to just be okay. I think they actually stopped it. I think they got to episode 2, and they're like, yeah, nobody's really buying this. Nobody really cares.
Yeah, there might have been the 3, but yeah, it did not make it through the full complete thing.
Yeah, I don't think Sonic 4 is completed, and I don't think anybody cared.
Nope.
Because they tried to attract the most hardcore of Sonic fans who are nitpicky as shit.
Yeah.
And that's what they're inviting here with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 is they're not getting gullible 12-year-olds, gullible 14-year-olds. They're getting people in their 20s who've played Tony Hawk 1 through 4. And the developer that's doing this in short, is the guys who did all the bad Tony Hawks.
Yep.
Like the really bad Tony Hawks.
Like the ones where you got to buy the skateboard and stand on it.
Yeah. And like the cell phone Tony Hawks. Like, I think Neversoft actually did American Wasteland 1 and... Maybe there's American Wasteland 1 and 2. But they also did Project 8. And those games weren't good.
No.
But they were Tony Hawk games. They were okay. They were below average. They weren't like just crappy. And Robomoto?
Yep.
Yeah, they just did the really crappy ones. They do the part of Tony Hawk history that nobody talks about. And everybody's kind of like, ugh. Like they did Tony Hawk's HD, which everybody was super excited for. And then they just screwed up everything with that.
Yeah.
It was 30 frames per second, which was stupid. That's not something I would normally complain about, but Tony Hawk is like a 60 FPS franchise, like
yep,
entirely.
absolutely.
And they made it 30 frames per second, and they screwed up the physics. That's like the two things you need to
The two things you can't mess up is basically what they screwed up.
Yeah. So maybe since they've had this franchise for like 7 years, they've like learned their lessons, and they're actually ready to make a real Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. But yeah, they're getting me with the it's just Tony Hawk's Pro Skaters 5 that has me excited, but man, those images don't even look that good.
No, they don't, not at all.
It kind of looks like the most bare bones, like, yep, that's a Tony Hawk game.
Yeah, it looks like that like $30 budget title.
Yeah, like I think this game probably would have been kind of cool, like if it came out like the beginning of the PS3 era. But now it's like we're in PS4 and it still looks like a beginning of the PS3 era game.
Yeah, and even with that, part of my thing with this is, does anybody even care? Like, you mentioned that with Sonic. It's like, does Tony Hawk even ride a skateboard anymore?
like personally?
Would a 13-year-old know who Tony Hawk is? Outside of the fact that he has I know he has like clothes, but like, would anybody know who Tony Hawk is at this point? It's like,
I don't think so.
It's like EA Sports dropped Tiger Woods' name off of golf because nobody at this point that's like saying, "Oh, this is really shitty golf" because Tiger Woods can't play golf anymore. Like, does anybody care about Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, or would it have just made sense to go, you know what, we need a cool skateboarding franchise and just call it the Pro skating game or something? And have it be the spiritual successor type idea. Yeah,
because that would take too much work. That would take too much work to come up with like a Tony Hawk spiritual successor. And I feel like people know how to make a Tony Hawk game. Like it's pretty well, like if it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, it's like they have like 4 games. They have like 16 games of research they can do. So they're like, well, it shouldn't be too hard to make one of these. I think people are excited not that it's Tony Hawk, but that it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Like they don't care that Tony Hawk's in this game. They just care that, hey, remember that game we used to play? That game was pretty fun. Maybe this game will be pretty fun. This has a really good chance of just not being good. I think what's going to happen, they really need to release gameplay videos of this like ASAP.
Yep.
And
they need to be good gameplay videos.
Yeah, because right now it doesn't even look that goofy. It just looks bad. Like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was always kind of like silly, and they just showed boring, not very realistic shots.
Yeah, nothing about this looked at. I mean, I played most of the Tony Hawks and until basically this developer took over, but nothing about that went to me, oh, I should go back and play Tony Hawk again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man, I'm looking at these now. Shit, this does not look good.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
Wow, that doesn't even look good for like a PS3 game.
Yeah, no, it looks dated as hell.
Ugh.
It looks like they took Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 and just crossed out the 4 and wrote a 5.
Oof. I can kind of see where you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's going to be the gameplay vids. I think that's what's going to get people excited. And the price
it's not
tag.
even like this is like early on footage. This game's supposed to come out this year, if I remember correctly.
Is it really?
I believe it's an end of 2015 game.
Oh no. Hopefully this isn't like a $60 game.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're going for like budget title with this, or like PSN exclusive thing.
Yeah, I think people have been kind of like kind to Tony Hawk games, like, oh, a Tony Hawk game came out, isn't that sad?
Yeah.
But this one, like, it's Tony Hawk's Pro. They're gonna eviscerate this thing if it's not good, because everybody's gonna be talking about it.
Yeah, it is later this year too.
And I'm kind of glad that kind of bad games are started like not selling as well. I think a
Yeah.
lot more people are starting to pay attention to reviews and like crappy DLC and stuff like that. So
Yep.
good luck, guys.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Hopefully you don't completely screw it up.
I don't think they'll completely screw it up. I think there'll be at least something redeeming about it.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Darksliders podcast. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these. Feel free to follow us on Twitter, Darksliders_pod. Follow us on YouTube, iTunes, all of those great things that you could do. Let us know what you think, because we like this, so hopefully you like this. That's the goal. Yeah. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week, Monday.
Yep.
See you then.
Hopefully it won't be so negative next time.
That would be nice. That'd be a good change of pace. This was good up until the last part.
Yeah, that news. I don't know if that Tony Hawk news just didn't rub me the right way.
Yeah, we should have ended on a sad note.
Oh, that's
All
sad.
Bye for real.
See ya.